must see yourself.
All right. We're ready.
The student has spoken.
Okay, so I'm gonna, you guys, just so you know, I'm gonna direct it towards these two guys, okay? When you guys feel it, if there's anything important or if I think of something that I feel like is really critical, this is, whenever I do these trainings, I always love having a mixture of teachers, administrators, students, because we're all working together. So, and able to give feedback, okay? So the first thing that, and this is going to be important for you guys, when I know about what's coming down the pike, okay, Brenda, you do it. Okay, you're in? Okay. So, the reason I started thinking about this with faculty is talking to a friend. I know that there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike around equity money that you guys are familiar with, and about some, and this is helpful for all of you guys to know about too. Some of the laws coming down, or the mandates about of students that are disproportionately impacted, that group of students have to raise, those teachers have to raise the skills of those students on that certain percentage. Also that we have to now start getting students through classes at a quicker time. That they'll be, instead of students going through remedial classes, now the idea is to give them support while they're going through remedial classes and getting them through those classes quicker. With both of those things, it leaves a lot more pressure on the instructors. How do I do this beyond what I'm already teaching? So with that mindset, I was thinking that instead of DSPS being used as a service that just supports students, that continue to that, but we know about all these different types of tools and all these different ways of helping people learn that are not just useful for students with disabilities. They're useful for everybody. And if general education teachers can start being introduced to some of those tools, they can start helping those students that are falling through the cracks. I don't care whether they have a disability, whether they're overwhelmed, whether English is not their first language, whether they just haven't been taught well. There's so many different reasons about why they're falling through the cracks. And so teachers, if part of the focus of what we can do is support those teachers with giving them tools to help reach their students, that's the idea I'm going at. It's supporting those teachers, and then the students benefit in the background. So, for an example, I think I have 4 different examples of how teachers might be able to integrate some technology into their classes that will help all of their students. Okay, so here's geography, for example. I'm going to wait on the Microsoft Translate thing to the end because I have to switch visions of that. But with this class, I'll use an example. What he was having trouble with is that he has a lot of students in his geography class that English is not their first language. So even though they speak English, and I'm directing over here, you guys, so I'm not trying to ignore you, okay? Okay. Even though even though a lot of the students in there speak English, it's not their first language. So now here they're in an area where it's impacted with more difficult concepts, and English isn't their first language. So his problem was he wanted students to be able to work with their language. In addition, a lot of the students in the class had trouble with studying. So here's some example of how he might be able to use some of the technology that we have on campus, okay? So let me back up. You go into you'll be familiar with this. Is Sonoset. Go ahead down here. Okay, so what we did is, you see all these little blue bars? These are recordings. So in the class, we recorded his lecture, okay? And it's called, this program is called Sonoset. And there's 2 parts of it. One is just a handheld, like on your phone, it's just an app that just works as a recorder and captures all these audio bars. And then on the computer is where you can go and work with it. So you could just listen to it on your phone, but if you want to be more, interactive with it, you have to put it on the computer. And where the way the computer creates these sound bars is every time there's a pause, and when it's said, it makes a new bar. So for example, if I go right here, and I just click read.
Being changed by the medium of air and the different densities of air owing to their temperature,
owing to their gravity density. And my question is, have you ever seen a mirage? So
you see how every time he stops, there's a pause. So what's brilliant about this is instead of it just being a long recording that you have to like get into somewhere, because it's broken into sound bars, now you can manipulate this as much as you want. This program also has, if you see at the bottom here, there are these views. So right now, we only have this view open. And this is the auditory view, okay? And this is how it comes in if I just capture it and then download it to the computer. I also have a view here where I can have text. I can have references, and I can also have a view of where I can have like PowerPoints and things like that. So I'm going to show you now a few ways that this can help you. So if I go over here to the text pane, what I did here, you see on the left side, this is the transcription. What we did was we took his audio. The program is connected to Dragon. And so it put his voice through Dragon, and now I can listen and read at the same time. So watch. You click here and read. Look what you can see.
Flowing and being changed by the medium of air and the different densities of air owing to their temperature, owing to their gravity density.
Okay, so right off, for a lot of students, just being able to listen to it, to see it and listen to it. Hey, Toby, book on. Okay, now we got a party.
Yay!
Okay, so I'm just showing you right we just started. So this is a program where, in class, let me back up. The idea here is to help teachers integrate different types of tools while they're teaching to make the material that they're working with more multisensory. So that while they're teaching, it's easier for students to adapt. At the same time, how students can study after and can use more multisensory tools to help them study better. So it's not for any particular type of student, it's for all your students. As a way to capture students that might be falling through the cracks or learn in a different modality or need help how to study, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so when I first started, this program is called Sonaset, and I just picked out different programs that, one we have on campus, and our two are free. Okay, so let's say you're teaching, let's say, but this is a lecture. So for example, if I listen right here, I just click right here, what we did is we used a recorder, a handheld on a phone, an app. We just recorded the lecture. Comes in, like these things are all audio bars, okay? And that's all you get when you start off with. So then on the recorder, we can take that audio and put it onto the computer, where it can be manipulated. So that's what we did. We took the recorder, here's what came up. All you see is just this. That's all you get to begin with, say, okay? So then the next step is we took this, it converts with a program called Dragon, which can take audio. Are you familiar with Dragon?
Yeah.
Great. So, and this teacher, I did not even train his voice. Okay, so it just picked it up right off. So what we did is we took this audio and we had it translated, we had it converted into text at the same time. So now the first step that students can do is they can go here and they can
flowing and being changed by the
listening.
medium of air and the different densities of air owing to their temperature, owing to their gravity density.
If I was the teacher, I would want to edit the transcription because there's a really important word there that's not transcribed properly. It
Okay,
says
so you
there
could,
instead of air.
right? So you could,
Yeah.
you could. In here, it's just text. You can do anything you want with it. Okay. And that's to where each teacher would go with what they're comfortable with. There's another aspect that you can do with this. So that's one thing that Ian would do. Another aspect that someone might do. Let's say I was mentioning this as this is a geography class. One of the biggest issues that this teacher is having is that the majority of students are not native English speakers. They speak Mandarin. And it's working with more complicated concepts. So it'd be easier if it was in their language, even though they speak English. So what they can do, now that they have this text here, they can take this text, copy it, and convert it into Mandarin via Google Translate. Or I can convert it into Spanish, or I can convert it to Vietnamese, whatever I want. It is not going to be a perfect translation. Like Ian's already saying, it's not perfect.
And there's no period?
There's none of that. But there's none of that. It's not perfect grammar at all.
Yeah.
But let's say I speak Spanish. English is not my first language. Now for the fact that I can just see it in Spanish as it's going, now I can fill in, because I know Spanish. I'm not learning Spanish. I can fill in where the word is not quite right. I'll fill it in my head, and I'll put periods in my own head. But now I'm getting to work with my language a little bit with that concept. I'm not in an ESL class. I'm in a geography class. This is not learning a language for me right now. This is more tapping into my ability to understand concepts, not my ability and how much English I know. And so on that level, how do I get it into a framework where I'm going to be the best, I'm going to understand it the best possibility I can, which is in my language. So now I can do that. I can take that and I can convert it. Or, let's say when I study, I do better when I see the text and I hear it. I take it in better. Because just listening, I get lost. So now I can see it. It's not perfect. It's my language. I'm filling in stuff. But just having that right there. So that's one step, okay? Just one idea. And I'm just going to show you a couple of different things that may or may not be helpful, okay? In addition, let's say now, okay, not only this, but now I have a bunch of students, I have students that not only have trouble with reading, they have trouble with knowing how to study, okay? So let's say, okay, this is Razan. Okay, let's say what he does in his class is he gives the students, say, 10 topics or 5 topics. And say, okay, these 5 topics, while you're reading, these are going to be the 5 topics that I'm going to be quizzing you on in class, okay? So I don't want you to just read passively and then be done. So now what I have to do is I'm going to have the students go through, and they can go through, they can listen to what those topics are. Then they can make a break and make a column for themselves, and then they can paraphrase in their own words what was said. So now they're not only listening, they're not only having to find those topics in there, but now they have to put it into their own words. In all those steps, they are being interactive with the material rather than just being passive learners. So for example, if I go up over here, you see right here where it says refraction? Okay, this text here was all together just like this. All I did was put a space. All I did was go and put I go between one here, and I put, where's the cursor? See the cursor right there? And then if I just hit enter, and enter again, I have a space in here. And then I can just go into that space, and I can put in summary, and it makes it gray. So it's really easy to put in a line. So I'm going to take that line out now, and put this back. All I'm hitting is backspace. Okay, so for right here, I broke it up because he started talking about refraction right here. So I went in here and I listened to him.
That's good.
I'll put this in a different order. We're looking at refraction, and refraction is the bending of light as it goes through a different density of mediums. And a medium is some fluid. Medium could be air. Medium could be water. Medium could be thick air, thin air, hot air, cold air. And every time the light goes through these things, it changes the way light looks.
Trying to stop it. Okay, then what I did is I listened, then I went over here, put on the recorder, and I recorded my own voice.
Okay, refraction is the changing of light as it goes through different types of mediums. So if it goes through air, if it goes through water, if it goes through some other substance, how we see it.
So in that process, think about even in terms of different languages, because I know, Dave, you're with ESL. With ESL, it's amazing, because think of all the things you can do where you can put things into different languages. The only limitation is your own creativity.
Right.
So, and also when I was doing this, I noticed I had to listen a number of times, because I had never heard of refraction before. But when I listened to it, I started doing it, and then I learned that I actually missed it here. It's the bending of light. But by going through that process, I paid more attention.
Mm-hmm.
He might have spoken about this in class, it probably would go right through me. But by the process of having to break it down and having to put it into my own voice, made me really attend to it and listen to it.
Yeah.
So that's just one idea of a strategy of helping students sort of work with material.
So they're kind of like summarizing the main ideas in those gray bands.
Exactly.
Or defining. It would also be useful to type refraction and then type out the definition.
Absolutely.
As well.
However you want it. This is where there's no
That's good.
limitation. But it's like taking the tool and figuring out what works for you. You know, it might be, with Ian, it might be that you take the writing. Let's say it's a writing class. Let's say students put their own words, they speak out their thoughts, they convert their words into text, and then they use their verbal words to edit their text. They learn from what they said how to put in periods, how to put in commas, because they speak correctly. But yet when they start writing, they're not sure how to do periods and commas. They glance right over everything as a run-on sentence. But when they talk, there's a natural pause. There's a natural period and a pause, you know, a longer pause for a period in a new concept. So there's so many different ways to use this to help students sort of reflect on their own learning styles. Okay, so that's one idea in terms of geography, of how a teacher might use it. So imagine if I had this. Imagine Brenda and I were in this class, just geography class. Imagine what he did if he gave us, okay, we had to pull out 10, if he gave us 10 topics, for example, okay? We each had to pull it, we each had to like identify and put in our own words. We can take what we said in our own words and put it into a separate little view. So Brenda pulls out hers, I pull out mine, and then we share them. And then let's say she's got something different than I have. Then we can talk about it. Or if we've got the same thing, then at least we're both on the same page. So before we go into the quiz, we at least know that we're studying the same kind of thing. If we're doing something different, then maybe one of us is off track. So it's a way to also help students sort of check themselves and using each other. Like I say, the only limitation is teachers limiting themselves. And what's great is it's multisensory. I may not want to listen to it, I may want to just see it. Brenda may want to just listen to it. Kim may want to do both. And Kimberly may want it in another language. But now we have one tool where all these different students are being able to access the lecture in a different way.
Is this for an online course or for a face-to-face course, or
Either way.
both?
Either way. It'd be great for online, definitely. But in class, I think this would be great. Let's say this is a lecture. After the lecture, the students, this is downloaded to F170, and students have access to getting into it and accessing that lecture. The lecture's already been put there, and the text has already been converted into English. Now they can go in there, convert it to another language, they can study it at home, they can do whatever. That would be sort of the vision.
Listen to it as many times as they want.
And listen as many times as they want, exactly.
Can this be integrated into Canvas?
Yeah, because what it would do, you would get a file, and that file would be put on Canvas. The students would have to have access to Sonicet, which is a program that would open it. I think we should, if this were good, we should get equity funds and make this something that is a college-wide program, not for a specific group on campus. So that so students can work in the lab and students can work at home.
So Sonicet is loaded in the computers in F170, or
I
you
don't know about
Okay.
that. I don't know.
There's, I don't know about Sonnets in particular, but I remember Karen doing this over the past year. There's like a limited number of licenses for various
Right now there are.
So for instance, in the writing center, there's like 1 or 2 computers that are designated to have.
But it's not going to be so helpful for us unless we know what to do with it, because we're going to load it and then it just sits there and it's a waste of our time. Only if we had someone who was really working with teachers and helping them come up with a strategy and then doing the trainings for the students, so it's not being done in the class, but outside the class, helping the students use it, and it'd be done really simple, not like how to use a program, but how to get your assignment done.
Right.
Brenda, do you have a quick question?
No, I was just saying, I think that was exactly and sometimes, even on taking notes, and I like to go back and hear what the teacher is saying so that I can just make it stick in my mind.
Right. And that's not unique. That happens with a lot of students. It happens with a lot of us just in general. Okay, I'm going to move on because I know we're short of time. Okay, sociology. Here's an example for sociology. So part of one of the things that's happening is books are so damn expensive these days. And I know with online classes, it's coming down the pike that all online classes that have open source books have to have a notation next to them saying that they have open source books. So open source books, which are free books, are getting more and more popular. They're still limited. They're not as comprehensive as textbooks that we buy. So this is an example of a sociology instructor where she's going to use an open source book. And what I do with this teacher is I'm going to have her make this book. Not only is it open source, so it's financially available for students. It also can be heard. It's going to be put in this program called Kurzweil, where students can access it anywhere because it's in the web. It will be held in the cloud. Students can access it. They can hear it. They can see it. But the other thing that's great about it is I had the teacher come up with notations, not telling the students what to do with the reading. Or like, okay, pay attention, read this note, pay attention to these 5 things. What I asked the teachers to do is to think about their own thinking process about how they would read the book. Like if someone says, okay, this is important, I don't want, instead of paying attention like, okay, read this sentence, I want to know how the teacher knew to read that sentence. I want to get into the teacher's head, into your own thinking process, and then to embed the book with those kind of notes. So now what we can do is start teaching students how to start thinking about how they approach reading, rather than what to do, rather than be dependent on you. I want to get into your brain on how you get there, and then students can start. Huh?
That's metacognition, but how are they
So let me show you.
capturing that?
Well, let me show you how I mean, it's not, Ian, you can definitely add more to this. I know that, but let me show you what I've got.
Just
Because you know all this stuff is like, you would be great because you kind of think in all this stuff. So you could add more to adding these concepts. Okay, so I'm going to open this book. This is an open source book, and I'm going to open it on in Firefly. Firefly Kurzweil. This program we have on campus, you probably need to get another one that would be great to have a college license, so that it's through equity funds, so everyone can access it. Nothing is on the computer, it's all on the web. So what's great about this, they can access it at home, in the lab, there's no limitation. So imagine she put her book up, I'm going to put in, nope, nah, it's a different one. Yes, okay, so, and then we put in, the book could be put into a file. Now to get to these, this wouldn't necessarily be, you can't really put this on Canvas. On Canvas you could put how to get there. You can just say go to this link and then put in this code and then the steps to get through it, okay? So let's say I'm in here.
I see. So they're like little audio annotations.
Exactly. I'm going to go back to page, so down here, I think page 11 is what we have. Exactly. So for example here, it has, here's my toolbar, so I can get instant definitions, I can hear it read, I can change the speed, all that stuff, and I can listen.
To introduction. If I am reading, and the first thing under the question, what is sociology? Is a picture, I would pay particular attention to who is in the picture and follow up in lecture and in the reading on all the ways he is important.
So she put that, she gave me
Sociology is the study of human social.
I just went in and I put in this bubble note for the teacher. I had her send me like 3 different examples. And I really had to push her, like, don't tell the students what to do. I want to know your thinking process, like Ian, the metacognition. Because that's how we're going to help students really make it through all different classes rather than just, making through that one class. Another example, I think it's on page 47. Down here, page 47. So now it's so much richer, and also it helps because since the open source books have limitations, this is a way to make those books so much richer, and they're free.
Yeah.
Okay, so for example here, same thing. Let me go. I just put the cursor wherever I want to start reading. I get the red icon.
10.2 Structural Functionalism.
That's pretty good.
As I read the basis of the different theoretical perspectives, I notice the gender and race era of the theorists. Sometimes I need to go back to their earlier pictures in the book. This gives me an idea of who is included and who is left out of the thinking in the theoretical perspective.
The other thing that's really great about
structural fun
doing this is, let's say Ian and I are both teaching sociology. Given our histories, given who we are, we may have a little bit of a different approach on how we go about it. And so students can start learning that there's different ways that teachers are attending to different things and start learning about that. And so as I'm in a class, I start learning about, okay, what is the expectation of that teacher? And how do I start learning how to respond to what they're looking for in a certain level? Because my goal is I want to get an A in this class. So I want to start getting a feel. That's a way of still learning about your environment more. Is because this stuff is not just inputted by the publishers, it's by that particular instructor. So she's really focusing on gender, and that's a big issue for her, gender and ethnicity.
Yeah.
Not all sociology teachers do that.
So the teacher is basically modeling their own reading process for the
Yes.
students?
Exactly. And it's harder, because a lot of times as teachers,
We
we
don't
get
think about
into saying, do this, do that,
Yeah.
answer these 5 questions.
What do
blah,
I
blah,
do
blah.
that?
Exactly.
Right.
How did I know to do that?
Right.
And if we can get teachers to do that, it's a whole different process. Now we're teaching people how to learn, rather than just follow directions.
And can I say something? And I think that would be good because it'll help the student to know what that particular teacher
Yeah.
needs.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because each teacher is going to teach different, like you just mentioned that you're teaching the same thing, but it's certain things that you focus in on, and he may focus in on, and the teacher wants the student to get what that teacher is focusing on.
Exactly.
So if they did that, then the student would know how to follow the rhythm of that teacher and to get an A in that class.
Brilliant. And imagine that we had more of that. Imagine when you went in there and you had books, and the books, like even the first chapter, say, were embedded with how that teacher approaches a reading assignment, is what their, what their thinking process is. Now I'm getting into my teacher's head, and now I'm starting to get a feel of what they're about. Yeah, because that's my goal. You may be in love with geography. I may like geography, but I'm really in love with getting my degree, and I want to get an A in the class. So we have a different expectation right now. So now I got to sort of read the environment and figure out what you want from me.
Yeah.
Okay. In addition, so the bubble notes for that. So now let's say in this sociology class, or it's a political science class, or it's a history class, not as much history, history class. Maybe one of the big aspects of the class is current events. Okay, and so we're reading the web a lot. Okay, that can be really difficult for a lot of students. There's a lot of terminology that's hard to read, and maybe I do better when I see it and I hear it. Okay, so with the same program, I can go into, I'm going to go into like say, I'm going to go to BBC, the New York Times. I have to get my account going. I'm going to go to BBC, World News, say we're doing something with sociology. I'm not going to do anything with guns. Or Trump. I don't know, where's something. Russia, no, I'm not Russia either. Is there anything? Boeing, yeah, let's do this. I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what this is. But let's say this is an article we're supposed to read, okay? I'm going to go over here. You see this little icon? Up in the, you can't see it.
Let's see how they do this
Why
in
do you see
Zimbabwe.
that? Okay, you guys can't see.
You can raise the yeah, just call it.
Okay, it's hard to see because it's hidden. Up in the top corner right there where the arrow is,
Yeah.
there's a little icon. Okay, I'm going to go here and just put in my password, my username and password. And now I have this reading toolbar. And this is on the web also, so it's not attached to the computer.
Yeah.
So now I can read all my emails, I can read any newspapers, I can read almost anything. It also worked with some books. I tried that the other day, but it didn't follow it along, so it was harder.
So is that icon on all
Just input-
news
you just put-
websites?
No, you
Yeah.
have to put it on. It's still part of this whole Kurzweil,
Oh.
how I read that book.
Yeah.
This whole family of Kurzweil. So Kurzweil has a program that you can install onto the computer. Kurzweil has Firefly, which allows you to, remember that book we had? That allows you to read books. So let's say I have, any books that you have. Then this one allows you to read the web. So they're all like 3 parts of this one consortium. Okay? And all of these can be just put onto any computer. So it's not set on one specific place. Saul goes to a library he writes, he goes to his house, he goes to a friend's, he can just upload this toolbar, this
It's free.
icon. It's on Google Chrome. It's just an app on Google Chrome.
Oh, and it's
Okay,
free.
and as long as he has a code,
You
as
gotta
long as he
have
has
an account.
a username and account, he has to have a username and a password, and then you can access it
On Google Chrome.
on Google Chrome. You have to be in Google Chrome. And so now I'm here. Let's say I want to listen to this. I just put the cursor where I want. I get this green icon, and then I just read.
More than 5,000 people have attended the burial of Zimbabwe's opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai in his home village after he died of colon cancer. The burial was marred by divisions in the party he formed and led, the movement for...
And let's say I'm not sure of a word. Burial. I can just go to here, and I have definitions.
Nice,
the
right?
act or process of burying.
So what's so cool about it is not only can I can read current events, I can read my emails. If I write something, I mean this happens to me all the time, where I write and then I leave off a word but I think I've written it, or I leave off ing but I think I've written it because in my head I'm saying it. So I can go, whenever I'm going to write something, I can go and listen back and then make those simple corrections as I hear them in my head. If I'm learning, I actually use this a lot in learning Spanish, because I'm trying to learn Spanish right now, because I know you teach ESL. And what I do is I write, and then I listen to it. And I'm writing, and I'm listening to it, and I'm getting definitions. Because it can convert it, it works and translates in different languages.
So you're just typing on Word, a Word document?
No,
or
I'm
whatever?
typing I can type a Word document, yes.
Oh, okay.
I can type writing Word, and I have it trained to work with Spanish. The voice is Spanish, so it's recognizing the Spanish words. So it would also give me definitions of those words. And like I say, everyone has access to it wherever they are. The whole thing is it's got to be easy for students to get to. And it's got to be free for them. So those are two aspects. Additionally, let me go over here. One of the things that this teacher, the sociology teacher, also had issues with is that we're supposed to have videos captioned. So did you know that the New York Times videos are all captioned?
No, but I'm not surprised. YouTube videos usually are too, aren't they? Or they
Yes.
should be.
Yes, they can be. So I don't have to show you that. So that was another thing to show teachers how, because it's got to be not only easy for students, it's got to be easy for faculty. So that's the other thing, because those are the laws also there. Everything has to be captioned.
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing, I'm not going to bother showing that. So with her, so you saw how she can add bubble notes for metacognition. She can have. Christine is here, but you're late. That's okay, because we're going to get to math. Think about this. My favorite part of that is that the two things are, one, that it can read the web instantly for students, and that can be used in so many different aspects. And then being able to put the teacher's voices, cognition into it. That would be great for Christine. As she's doing it, imagine she's like working with a math textbook, and she puts in bubble notes telling the students how to process that math problem. Because students who have difficulty with math don't think like mathematicians. So if she could go through and not tell the students what to do, not lecture and here's how you solve a problem, but how she knew to do that. Okay, when I see these two numbers, I kind of know that I can put those together, and then when I look at those numbers, I can put those together. Okay, that simplifies the problem for me. Or when I look at a problem that's really complex, the first thing I do is I go and I put in a whole bunch of lower, really simple numbers. And then I fill the problem out that way first. And then it helps me know how to solve the problem. Like if she could get her strategies in there, and then students can listen to that in those bubble notes, that would be so amazing for the students who don't think mathematically. Right, Christine?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So then, the next one, is this being useful?
Yeah.
Am I getting an idea? I'm moving quickly because I know we don't have much time. Okay, writing, because I know we'll get to math next. Okay, so with writing, one problem that a lot of students have, and it's not just with writing, but in general, a teacher may be spending a whole bunch of time sort of explaining, let's say they're going to be writing a 5-paragraph essay, and I might be in there and I'm explaining everybody how to do it and all the steps of what my expectation is, and I may give you all a handout. I can't tell you how many students end up in my room after with their little handout, and they're so confused. It's like, well, what did the teacher say? I don't know. I don't remember. They were talking about writing an essay. Tell me, I need to know what to do. This is due in like 2 weeks or a week. What do I do? So imagine students, instead of being given a piece of paper, or instead of being, me spending my time trying to explain it just in class, they have a template that is a multisensory template that they can leave with and they can access whenever they want. So 2 steps happen. 1, using Brenda, she has that to go off of and to review with over and over. But 2, I as a teacher, I have to create that. So I have to get myself more organized because there's a lot of teachers out there who are disorganized and are just as confused as students are, just like there might be confused students or very organized students. Same like teachers. There's some very organized ones and some very disorganized ones. So having a structure that helps teachers be more organized is also really beneficial. So here's an example. Okay, this is just something that I kind of came up with following working with an English instructor, and he was trying to have students create a 3-part thesis and then a 5-paragraph essay. And so what I did was, with the same program, if you notice now over here, what I have open, if you look down here, I have 4 columns that I can open and close. So I've just opened now this column over to the left here. This is a PowerPoint. This column over here is sort of a reference column. This is a writing column, and this is an auditory column. So what I've done here is this is maybe the PDF the PowerPoint that I created for my 5-paragraph essay. So right here, I'm just sort of saying what you have to do first is you got to do an although statement. Then I'm going to give, here's my arguments, although that's an argument against what I want to say. And here's my opinion. And then here's 3 reasons that support my opinion. Then I go over here, and I have this example for students to look at. They can hear it if they want. I can just click right here. Oopsie. And I can listen to it.
Swimming while
No,
is an unbelievable
No, stop.
experience.
Stop. Why are you not stopping?
Of this whole other world.
No. It's supposed to read up here. There we go. Okay, the blue is up here now.
That
What?
you're unaware of it.
Okay, so anyhow, that's not working so well. But you should be able to hear this. But even if not, so what I did was I put in, for example, like what I said here was all the example of a complex thesis or 3-part thesis. Here's an example of it. The students, they can go in here and write in their example of here's their 3-part thesis. Then I take, here's the first topic sentence. That is my first topic sentence right here. Then I put it in here as my first example. And then one of the issues that reluctant writers have is details, is getting more involved. A lot of people, it's easier for them who are struggling with writing to be able to verbalize it. But when you give them a piece of paper, what you get is minimal information. But you have them talk about it, they'll be much more verbose about what they want to say. So what I did was I went over here and I put in details of what my expectation would be of the details that would follow this topic. So for example, I went over here. So the topic sentence is swimming while immersed with an ocean life is an unbelievable experience.
Swimming while immersed with an ocean life is an unbelievable experience. You are in this other world where you can watch fishes swimming around you. There's all different types of corals that could come into your view. There could be things.
So I'll stop it. So the idea here is now I can sort of give students what I mean by details. It's not just this sort of vague concept. I'll give them an example. And let's say Brenda's one of my students. She can take this template and maybe Ian is her tutor. And they can look at this template. And now he has a much better idea of what the expectation is for Brenda to complete. Instead of just looking at the piece of paper that she's confused by, and he's trying to gather information from her about what to do, when she's a little not sure about what it was because the teacher went too fast. And she was falling behind when he was explaining, or she was explaining. The other thing is, let's say Brenda, I'm just using because you're right here, okay? Let's say for Brenda, it's harder for her to add all those details in by writing right up. She could go right here, add her own voice, record it, and then she just goes up into this area up here and speak. Oh no, scribe, I'm sorry. she goes into Scribe, it was set up, she would do Scribe selected audio, and her voice would be converted into text. And then she could take that text, and maybe you would notice it didn't have any periods or any commas, then she could listen to what she said, and maybe add in the commas and the period. So now she can... And so all of a sudden it becomes more accessible to everybody. It's like a way for her to express what she's trying to say. And she's teaching herself how to do commas and periods by how she speaks, rather than trying to learn all these rules that are just going right over her head. So imagine even with ESL and with learning another language, learning English as a first language, being able to hear that and being able to listen, because language is about hearing it. And a lot of people have trouble with languages. It's the auditory processing. I don't care if they have a learning disability or not.
Yeah.
And that's good for English.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of expectations in writing, in the way they want it.
So,
Any math examples yet?
that's where I'm going right now. Okay,
I had two questions.
Okay, so for math,
Please,
math is next. Okay, so with math, let me move this. Christine is like my guru here. So she introduced me to. Are you guys familiar with the smart pens?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. You guys already know the smart pens. Have you taught with smart pens?
No.
Okay, so this is what Christine has done, and it's brilliant. It has its issues with students getting access to it. But what Christine does in her class, okay, let me see if I can make this work. How does this thing work?
I just shared like a pen cap today with my students. So
Yeah?
yeah.
Okay, so this is what Christine, Christine, when you go, do a math problem for us.
Do a math problem for you?
Yeah, because we got to do math now. Okay, smart pens, you turn it on. So now imagine, it's not about all the students having it. Because a lot of this process also is about how to make things available. So how to make it cheap, and how to make it where students don't have to do much. So now what's going to happen is Christine is going to teach.
Are you trying to do the camera, dot cam?
You know how to do this, right? Because you teach in these kind of rooms. I do. Okay, so what she's going to do is she's going to demonstrate for us. What she has to turn the pen on, and then the paper. Are you all familiar with the paper and all that with the pens?
Yeah.
Okay,
So let me. Oh, well, you want me to?
You got the camera.
Oh,
it's special paper. The pen works with. It doesn't work with any old paper. It works with the stuff called
Right.
dot paper. And what happens is you turn the pen on, but it's sort of like turning on the stereo. After you turn the stereo off, then you have to press the record button. So on the paper, there are little toggles that turn the recording on.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the pen is going to capture both what you write and what you hear. So what Christine does, so imagine now we're in a math class. Instead of Christine being up here writing on the board, she's writing directly on the paper. And she's going to be speaking. And the pen's going to basically capture both her audio and what she writes. Okay, so Christine, a really short one.
all right. So I'm looking for
Press record on the page, on the left-hand page.
Yeah.
Press record.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the paper itself, it's not showing. On the paper itself, there's a record button.
Yeah.
This paper is dot paper, so it's recognizing where I'm writing on the based on the dots on the page. Okay. So if I hit record by touching that.
You hear a click? Now it's recording us.
Okay. So now it's recording. So if I say Alexander and Sebastian are 2 years apart. Alex is 2 years older than Sebastian. The sum of their ages
Oh no, word problem.
is, of course.
Christine, you're supposed to keep it simple for
Yeah.
us. Okay, keep it simple.
You just make a mark.
Just do 1/2
Okay,
plus
going,
1/3.
going.
I
knew we shouldn't have a math teacher
one.
doing
You
it.
guys want a different
Okay,
one?
something simple.
Just do some
We're
1/2
like
plus
challenged.
1/3.
All right. So okay, here's one. So if I
But I
say,
can't see your hand.
did you have the lightest?
No, so we can see you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So if I say, that solve this equation, 3x plus 5 equals 17, for example.
Great.
Okay, that's better.
Word problem.
Now you're at our level.
Okay, so we're solving the equation. So I would explain, okay, what are the steps for solving the equation? parentheses, fractions and decimals. So people forget little things exactly at midnight. This is how we remember it.
Oh, wow.
So there's no parentheses for this equation, right?
It's not PEMDAS anymore?
There's no, because it's not an expression, it's an equation.
Oh.
My students came up with this, by the way.
Oh.
There's no fractions or decimals, there's no like terms, x is only on one side. And so now it's a matter of just getting x alone using addition and multiplication principles.
That's great.
And so you subtract 5 from both
I
sides.
need that too.
Right? Huh? Yeah.
I did that
Yes.
little thing. The
And so
little,
you get
mnemonic.
3x because the 5's cancel. And here we get 12. Okay, and then that takes care of the addition principle. Now to get x alone, you're going to
Divide.
Divide.
right? 3's multiplying, so you're going to divide. Both sides by
3.
3. All right, so you cancel your 3's. And you get x equal to 4. And so, if there were questions, student questions, that would be recorded, right? And students can hear this after the class.
I'm going to show you how you can do that.
Okay.
There you go. So you can stop it.
Because I know we have a class coming in after. Okay, so Christine was teaching this in class, okay? I want to get access to these notes because I want to review it. So then I can just go right here. Take my pen. Okay, Christine would do this, not me, not you
Yeah.
guys. Christine would take the pen now,
Should upload it.
and she would upload it exactly. Five minutes? Do I have 5 minutes, Kathleen? How about 3? Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes. Okay, Christine, I'm going to upload it really quick for you. Okay, so she goes into this thing called, where is it? Oh, here. Echo Desktop that she has installed on her computer. Come on.
Is that where the pen's from also?
Live spread.
Live spread.
Live spread. Okay. So it's transferring it down.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And now I'm going to open up the notebook. And here's her
Oh, that looks
example right here, okay? But now I need to make it so we all can access, she can access it, others can access it. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to share the page, I'm going to put it on the computer,
like it.
and continue. Save on the desktop. And save. Okay, so it's saving it. Okay, now I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take the pen out. Okay, so now, let's say Ian's in this math class. He really wants to review what Christine just did. Okay, so he went onto her site, onto her Canvas, and there's that document. She takes it. It's a PDF file right now, right here. She takes that PDF file. She has to download it to her computer. He can't just open it. He takes a PDF off of her Canvas, downloads it to his computer, then he opens it. It says right here, I need to go find the player because he wants to hear it. So he clicks on this player. And then he downloads, he has to go
Choose the live scribe PDF. That's what I usually do.
right here, okay? And then I have to go, like I said, Ian just put it onto his computer. And so now he's going to go to his desktop. Right here. And it is this one, A Square Notebook. And then now Ian opens it up. He doesn't have a pen or anything. And now he can listen to it.
Now it's recording. Okay, so now it's recording. So if I say Alexander and Sebastian are but you can and then you were on the thing, So
we're done. We gotta get out of here. What I imagine us doing is if we could get this for all the campus, for everybody, it would be brilliant. And there's one pen that she's helping all her students.
Yeah.
Everything else is free to students.